Hey guys, welcome to another audio commentary brought to you by Zell. This is MSL Season 4, Round of 16, the match between JangBi and Orion. JangBi is playing purple Protoss at 7 o'clock in the bottom left-hand corner, and Orion is playing blue Zerg at 1 o'clock in the top right-hand corner. Of course, this map is Blue Storm, and there being only 2 spawn points, reminiscent of Monty Hall, if you will, but obviously much different. No minerals in the line of attack, but there is that narrow gap, so it does, and Zerg tends to have a problem with that gap, getting through. They're forced to be pushed all the way around, especially against Protoss, because of just the one Zealot being so much more powerful than the one Zerg being forced to fight in that narrow gap. They do have to go the long way around, but in the meantime, there's probably those cannons that will be essentially built almost indefinitely. And you see the pylon going down and setting out the scout, so looks like Orion, is going to have the scout off way later than JangBi, because he's just relying on that Overlord instead of sending a scout. And the hatchery going down here looks like a 9 pool, or possibly less. Actually, a 7 pool, 8 pool, or something. Doesn't really matter. A fast spawning pool, in essence, and gonna look for a Zergling rush. So, indeed, most likely Orion going to, or JangBi rather, I'm a little mixed up. JangBi going to be building a forge and some cannons to help protect. Indeed, you see that forge going up in almost exactly the same position as it has been placed several times in Zerg vs Protoss on this map. Interesting enough, these two players, the combinations of their stats are quite interesting. While they have played twice before, both times being in the 10th season of the MSL Survivor, or I'm not sure if it was season, I haven't really seen it, but that's not really important at this point. They played on Blitz X and Reverse Temple, and JangBi coming up on top both times. But the interesting part is, while both of their ratios are not too stellar versus the opposing race they are facing now, JangBi being about 40% and Orion about 50%, they are actually both 20% versus their own race. JangBi only coming out on top 20% of the time versus Protoss, and Orion 20% of the time versus Zerg. So it's interesting that they do not apparently know the strengths and weaknesses of their own forces, and that probe just delaying that hatchery, that fast expand, but not going to delay it for too long, and of course it's going to go down those Zerglings, helping scare it off, and those 2 cannons going down, you see, and those 4 Zerglings going to try and clear out, possibly, and hold down that 3 o'clock expansion. Going to look for a 3rd hatchery, possibly from Orion here, or yes, Orion. Anyways, and as for previous matches on this map, JangBi did beat Firebat Hero earlier this season, and he lost to Hyun in Shinin Pro League Season 2. But Orion did beat UV in the season on this map, and he did beat Air in the 13th MSL Survivor, but he did lose to RA in Season 3 of the MSL on this map. So interesting enough that Orion's played this map against 2 Protoss already, and he's 1-1, whereas JangBi's already beaten Orion twice. So it seems that JangBi has Orion's number, but Orion has a bit more experience versus other Protoss players, so it'll be interesting to see how these stats sort of manifest themselves into this game here, in this probe trying to sneak in. The assimilator being built, not really updating the game. Lots of stats, as I said, quite interesting, but these Zerglings going to push back. A 3rd hatchery going down, you see in between the main and the natural. The gas not up yet at the natural, and the 3rd hatchery or the 4th hatchery, going down at the 3 o'clock position. That probe clearly scouting it out, but those Zerglings gonna try and dance around. That probe still not dying. Cybernetics core going down. Possibly gonna see some Corsairs quickly as soon as it's down, because there are no Zealots being produced from that gateway. Or possibly Dragoons, but most likely Corsairs, as they do seem to be incredibly effective against those Overlords, of course, and with the ridges and the way this map is designed, they do seem to have free reign, unless Scourges come out in mass numbers. But once that critical mass of Corsairs reaches the air, in terms of, indeed, you see the Stargate going up, so Corsairs are going to become and by critical mass I mean that when you get enough Corsairs, you can actually kill the Scourges en masse because of the splash damage of the Corsairs before they actually reach any of the Corsairs themselves, so it becomes meaningless to produce more Scourges unless you can catch the Corsairs completely off guard. And the lair tech going up, so possibly gonna see some Mutalisk because there is no Hydralisk dead here. So gonna see how these Corsairs are gonna rip apart these, or possibly Scourges, expecting the and the robotics facility going up also. So we're gonna see some drops. Excuse me, the Mutalisk gonna handle these Corsairs. I'm tired right now, but that's not the point. And the Hydralisk then going down, so the lair possibly going for some speed upgrade overlords and carrying capacity so that he can do some drops here. I'm not sure how terribly effective that will be on this map. Again, the straight line right between the bases as well as all the expansion. You see 3 Zealots pushing up here, 1 going for the natural, standing in that place. We saw this earlier against another match. I'm not sure if you've seen it, so I won't reveal it to you, but that one lone Zealot sort of trying to get the attention of the Zerglings, but cleverly here Orion gonna bring those Zerglings around, or at least most of them, and fend off those 2 Zealots. Whereas in the previous game I was mentioning, the Zerglings basically stared at that 1 Zealot, only being able to fight 1 at a time, and those 2 Hydralisks coming out. So gonna try and fend off this Corsair. I'm not sure how well JangBi's gonna micro it and see if he can take out some overlords. You see there 3 there, but not attacking them. Going for the scout. That Evo Chamber going down. So possibly gonna see some Spore Colonies, get some static defenses up, and that Spire going down. So potentially Scourges, but we might see some Mutalisk here, and a large group of Zerglings here chasing off those Zealots. They're not speed upgraded, so they're not going to catch them. A couple more Zealots standing at the base with some cannons. Another Corsair coming in. So Orion going to sort of try and switch the defense here and bring those Hydralisks out to fend off those Corsairs, because he's going to definitely need that supply, those overlords to preside. And the robotics support bay down, so we're going to see some Reavers here. There's the shuttle. The Reaver probably being produced. The upgrades running. Going to see some drops here at the expansions. Going to take out some drones, hopefully, or at least JangBi's hoping. And again, just scouting with those Corsairs, not attacking. Probably the best option because of all those Hydralisks sitting around there now. But before there was only 2. When JangBi had his first Corsair, he probably could have attacked. And those Hydralisks seeming to go through a push to the middle, ignoring those Corsairs, going around, gonna possibly take out. And another Corsair popping out, gonna possibly take out some of these overlords. But it does look like they are just scouting, and those Hydralisks just possibly running a little bit wild. Sort of chasing them, and the burrow technology you see, and clever Orion getting the burrow technology and burrowing those Zerglings at the 6 o'clock position. As you see, they were sort of sparse, so using them as decoys. But the thing is, if you place them at a position where the Nexus would be built, and it wouldn't be able to be built because the Zerglings are there, JangBi will probably realize that something's up, and he might get an observer. The Citadel of Doom going down, and you see a couple gateways being produced, so possibly going to look for some Dark Templars, although no overlords that I have seen have been taking out yet, and a 3rd gateway going down quickly. That 1 Reaver is up, and it is being uploaded, so we're going to see another drop, just like the last game as I was mentioning. And again, meeting at that Nexus, very similar. A 2nd Reaver, coming out. Just reminiscing here, don't mind that. So these Corsairs going to come out, going to get intercepted by those Hydralisks, driven back, but they can easily just go around along the bottom. And the Scourges you see there, 4 of them trying to go for that shuttle, but those cannons there protecting it easily. Gonna not head home yet. Gonna try and scout out those Corsairs coming back to kill them, but the Scourges indeed getting away. And it looks like Orion is trying to do an attack here with his Hydralisks, but he does not have a lot of them. And another hatchery down at the 4 o'clock position, or the 5 o'clock-ish, you see there. And indeed that Zealot, those Zealots taking out, I don't see an observer, but there must have been one if it was burrowed, unless he unburrowed it. And going for that sort of 9 o'clock position,